So ever since people have gathered, there have been stories to explain the mysterious world around us. Fear over a solar eclipse, joy for rain or during a long drought. Where do we come from? Is there a god or goddess? Why are there so many stars in the sky? Why do birds fly and people walk? Questions spurred by a desire to understand the world around us, to make sense of the mystery. Were we created? Did life come from the Big Bang and the process of evolution? Our Soul Matters theme this month is mystery. My Thursday chalice group discussed this last week, and we were talking about how do we experience mystery? And I asked that on my Facebook page because I'm cheating on my sermon. No, just kidding. I like to hear, what is it that makes you feel the mystery of the season? And some people talked about the ice cracking on Lake Superior or when they put their dock away, or seeing the birds in the sky migrating, or just being outside with the crisp wind on their face and the sound. I've heard people talk about the different sounds of snow, depending on when the snowfall is. And these are all mysterious to me because I didn't grow up in the northern Wisconsin. There's so much magic here that I still have yet to experience. The first time I heard a loon was last summer on Jim Hepner's boat in the lake for his harvest auction event. And I was so excited because I had heard him on tapes when I was growing up, or CDs or whatever. And I kind of knew what they looked like and heard them, and there it was, right in front of me in the big, mysterious North Woods. So we live in a culture that likes to conquer mysteries. We like to measure things. This is my experience. I'm going to put words on it, put it in a box, because then I'm safe and the mystery is contained. But what if mystery isn't something to solve? What if it's something to be listened to? Being open to mystery is an act of being present. It is one of the most eloquent articulations that I've heard is the poet Mary Oliver in her beloved poem, Wild Geese. She says, "Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you, like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over announcing your place in the family of things." So the call to listen to this mysterious announcement, and if you know what geese sound like, they're like, ah, ah, it's not like this, woo, woo. It's like, listen to the mystery. Mystery's funny this way. You can't make it speak. And the more you pursue it, the more distant it becomes. UU humanist minister and poet David Breeden wrote, "I dug and dug deeper into the earth, looking for blue heaven, choking always on piles of dust rising. Then once at midnight, I slipped and fell into the sky." What is it like to fall into the sky? We think about all the perceptions that we have. One of my favorite things to do when I'm remembering that I can still be a kid is to lay on the ground when it's warm and look up at the clouds and to think about the different cloud shapes and to watch how the perspective is so different when you lay on the ground and your body relaxes into gravity and you let go of all the things that you're carrying. You give grace to your feet and you let Mother Earth hold you for a while. And then you look at the clouds going by, all the different shapes, mystery, and connect a little bit. And if you can't get on the ground, you can sit in a chair and look up. It's those moments where we allow ourselves to remember that we don't have to be children to experience magic and wonder. I have this vivid memory of when I was a little girl, and I had these little peoples. And I've said this before, and somebody gifted me a little people about a year ago, which I really appreciate. And anyway, I was having this a conversation with this big adult. I must have been 4, I don't know. I said, "Do you want to play Peoples with me?" And they said, I don't know how to play Peoples. And I just remember looking up at them like, what's wrong with you? And so I try and remember that, we can still play Peoples, we can still have wonder and joy and still, be responsible human beings. And so when I think about the element of air, the sky, always mysterious, stars, cloud formations, the beauty of a storm rolling in over the ocean. And here in northern Wisconsin, the sky holds the promise of the northern lights. And so last May or April or March, I can't remember it was, I was so mad. I missed it. I missed the northern lights. They were right here, and people could look up. And I know people in this congregation who posted pictures, and I was so jealous. Because I've always, again, like loons, you don't get to see the northern lights in South Carolina or Georgia or Florida. So I made it my quest to find out, how do people find out about northern lights? And so I found an app on my phone, and it's called My Aurora app. And I also started following all these Facebook pages, Northern Lights of Wisconsin, and I made sure to know which of my Facebook friends were really wise about the aurora. And so when I saw them posting, I would drive out to Lake Wissota, and I found out I was facing the wrong way one time. I was not a Girl Scout, okay? And then I would sometimes go out in my yard because I was too scared to go out where there might be bears or whatever in the middle of the night. And I kept missing it. And I was just frustrated. But I knew that if I kept on. And so on November 30th at 5 a.m. in the morning, I caught the aurora for the first time with my camera in my front yard. So I had popped up during the night, who needs sleep when there's an aurora? And every couple of hours I went outside and I couldn't see it with my eyes, so I'd take a picture and I'd look at it and go, ugh, and I'd go inside and lay down. And so at 5 a.m., it was still dark, thank you, light change of the season, and there it was. There it was. It was bright pink over I stepped into my labyrinth and pointed my camera to the north, and there it was. And I took different pictures, and it was, Carl asked me afterwards, why didn't you take a video? And I was like, because I want to see it dancing, but the different pictures I took, it was dancing and magical, and it was just great. Anyway, I was so happy. And then the next evening, my son Aaron had some friends over, and there was, lots of kids in my house. And so as they were leaving, I was happening to flip through social media, and there's a chance that there's the aurora again. And so I said, "See ya, family. I'm going aurora chasing." I felt really cool. And I got in my car and put my GPS on, because I need that, so I can face north. And then I went out to Lake Wissota again, and that Friday night, it happened again. And it was over the lake, and it was these rainbow hues. And again, I didn't take a video, but that's okay, next time. And so it's become a little bit of an obsession. It's giving me something to do, something beautiful to distract myself against so many hard things. So many hard things that are in our world. There's war, there's grief, there's sickness, grief over so many things. And yet, in the midst of all those hard things, there it is. We can't always see it with our eyes, but the magic is there if we are present to it. And I think that, to me, is the epitome of the mystery of the season. When a little kid says, hey, I saw the elf move. And you're like, oh yeah, okay, the elf moved. Okay, good, that's awesome. Tell me more. But are you feeling that magic? And so what is the magic of the season for you? For me, it's the aurora. And for some, it's going to hear the Messiah. For some, it's going to see the Nutcracker. And maybe it's watching the Grinch or whatever it is. I hope that you can be present to your emotions, to your needs, to find the beautiful, to stop and pause. Because we get really busy this time of year trying to do all the things and meet expectations. And the only expectation I hope you have is that you deserve that peaceful, magical moment. And those around you benefit as well. So Catherine May is a writer. She wrote Wintering, and she also wrote Enchantment. And she writes about awakening to our senses of wonder. And she says, the historian of religion, Marcia Eladi, coined the term hierophany to describe the way the divine reveals itself to us, transforming objects like candles and things like that. When we make a tree or a stone or a wafer of bread the subject of our worshipful attention, we transform it into a hierophany, an object of the sacred. For the believer, that means absolute reality has been uncovered, rather than anything fantastically projected upon it. Hierophany is the experience of perceiving all the layers of existence, not just seeing its surface experience. The person who believes, be it an ancient animism or a complex modern religion, lives in an enhanced world, having been given a kind of supernatural key to see the wonder of the everyday. For those who have a religious experience, says Eladi, all nature is capable of revealing itself as a cosmic sacrality. The cosmos in its entirety can become a hierophany. And so when I think about this fun word, hierophany, I just want to keep saying it, is that we can find the sacred in, lighting candles. We can find the sacred in singing carols at the classic. And for some, it is lighting the menorah or the Advent wreath. For others, it is, just simply sitting in nature. But if we can find the sacred, there is something in us that connects and reminds us that we are not alone, that we are connected to mystery and to each other, and that we're part of this bigger system of life. Some people spell God as Nature. And I think about times when I was young in the month of December in South Carolina, a very different experience. We didn't have the crunch of snow, and I had snow 3 whole times in my childhood, and I remember each one. Pine trees were really magical for me, especially in winter. Everything else was gone, the way of browning leaves or bare limbs, but evergreens were the stars of winter. And we didn't have a lot of funds when I was growing up, and so we often got the Charlie Brown tree, the last one of the lot, but we were proud of it, and sometimes the needles would drop before the end of Christmas because it was too close to the heater or it was a Charlie Brown tree. But that earthy, sappy pine smell, the feel of the needles, and that magical sense of laying beneath the tree and looking up through the branches at the sparkly lights, that was wondrous. And I don't know about you all, but I would role play with Mary and Joseph and baby Jesus and the shepherds and sheep, and I would march them around the tree, and I would talk to them back and forth. And sometimes I would shout at the shepherds like I was the angel. I'd say, "Wake up, behold." And then I would bring out some of my peoples, and they were part of the miracle, or a stuffed animal. And sometimes I would sneak the baby Jesus underneath my pillow, and he would sleep with me at night. And I wonder about all these magical stories that you have of your childhood, or maybe they weren't as magical and you had to find ways to find the light. Perhaps Santa and elves, songs and stories, ice fishing, snowshoeing in the North Woods. The woods behind my house when I was little were also magical. I could see farther down the slopes and to the river, and it was harder to play hide and seek, so I could find my friends a lot easier. And when I was small, I would always look for mistletoe. I don't know if it's because I thought that people should be kissing, or if I just thought it was magical, but I wanted to bring it into my house. Its bright green leaves and its red berries, they defy winter. The Roman historian Pliny gives us an early account how Druids would hold a very solemn ceremony at the winter solstice when the mistletoe had to be gathered. The Druids viewed this as a defiant plant, which had no roots in the earth, as being of divine origin, or perhaps produced by lightning. At the winter solstice, the Druids would lead a procession into the forest, and on finding the sacred plant growing on an oak, the chief priest would climb the tree and cut the mistletoe down, and supposedly with a sickle made of gold. It would be laid beneath the altar stone for 3 days, and then early on the 4th day, which would correspond with our Christmas day in the current calendar, it was taken out and chopped into pieces and handed among the worshipers. And the berries were then used by priests to heal various diseases, according to the legend. Magic can be found in many places, in the unified voices of those calling for peace, in the wonder of a child walking in first snow. I remember when my dog came here, he was like, "What have you done to me?" Walking in snow for the first time, and he barked at it. It was so fun. And it takes neither Druids nor Santa to make this come true. It takes awareness and intention. So however and whatever you celebrate, be mindful of joy and magic, enchantment. And maybe don't make cookies for everyone and stress yourself out. Maybe don't drive 5 billion hours to the place you don't want to drive. Maybe take a day for yourself, a day to enjoy the magic. Celebrate the wheel of the year, the miracle of love and goodness in the world. The author, Catherine May, also said, "We find this absolute connectedness hard to grasp. We often prepare ourselves to forget it. We push back against it, but it is there, real as sunlight, behind everything we do. Since it is too big for us to swallow whole, we approach it through metaphor. We tell stories about monsters and magic and elemental gods, but really, we are trying to find a way to understand. Really, we are talking about us, all of us together. Some of the old stories don't work anymore. We are finding them harder and harder to understand, but that doesn't mean we abandon them. Instead, we need to double down on the storytelling and find new ways to tell our meaning. And just like Unitarian Universalists, we look at the history in different religions and we find our truths and our light. We learn from one another and we celebrate together. There is magic in the world, and we are part of it. I truly believe that I saw my mother after she died. I can't put it in any scientific terms, but I think I saw her. I felt and heard things that I can't explain. Some people would say, "Oh, that's just a feeling," but I don't understand it. And when my sister is about to call, half the time I know that she's going to call. I have no explanations, only wonder. How does my cat know to come lay on my chest when I'm crying? How do we know to be there at that right time, at that right place? Mystics talk about a connection beyond words and names, a oneness, a unity. And perhaps that is the mystery of the season. In all of these celebrations of light, we are light too. In the darkness and cold a millennia ago, and now, All of us need hope and light, and to just be and let the mystery be. Amen.